Hi, welcome to toddfun.com. Today's fun is moving on with the pinball machine. Now that we've got the artwork all done, they got all the paint touched up, we got to get on to clear coating. First step is I got to plug all these holes because there are still mechanical things underneath that we don't want to get any clear coat on. So we want to basically just plug them all, tape them out if you will. And then we want to put this on some place where I could tape around and put on basically on a sawhorses so I can spray paint it in a nice clean, semi-clean environment. Once I get it taped off, I'll start that process, the first coat. But I might actually take it to an automotive shop yet and have them clear coat it. I haven't decided, most likely not. But let's move on to the tape out. I want to get all these holes basically plugged, but yet not covering where I want the clear coat. Interestingly enough, I've had these spongy earplugs for about maybe 10 or 15 years. Got them at Walgreens. And they fit in these holes absolutely perfectly. I have to nip off a little bit. I pre-fit and then nip off just whatever amount I need to nip off so that it plugs the hole kind of flush. And within seconds I had almost every one of those light sockets filled. Some I didn't, like this one. I just put some blue painter's tape and then just kind of run around it. Follow along and hopefully keep my elbow out of the way. So there's a light, I just put a piece of painter's tape randomly over it. And this one I couldn't get an earbud in because it's got a plug in it. And you just follow the edge around. And you could do this to all of them if you didn't want to use earplugs, but heck, if the earplugs are working, they're faster than this. And you just push that down in, peel that off, and you have potentially a perfect little fill to keep the light bulb clean. I'll be cleaning all those sockets too before I reassemble everything. Like here, I just squeezed 3 earbuds together and squeezed them all down at once. And that does the wider slots too. Here's a few more good tips when it comes to these rollover slots. If you take one of the earplugs and cut it into thirds, then the stuff in there has little discs and they squish in just fine. So that's a real good tip. And some of these holes that are too big for the earplug idea, I just back tape them with some packing tape, some sticky packy tape, and I stuff them with Kleenexes, and then I do this same little trick with the overlay of the painter's tape, and then I cut around it, and I'll do that to all these as well, including that one where the drop targets are. And then for these bumpers, I put 3 together, rolled them up like a big earplug and stuff them in. Then I would cut discs. I would cut them into discs like I did for the rollovers. And then I would roll up a disc and stick it in these bigger holes. And then some of them, where they have the T-nuts in them, I would cut the discs into either halves or quarters. And then I could stuff the half or quarters down inside, and they would expand perfectly in those T-nut holes. So between all those, it's really fast to get these holes plugged. And for the saucer, I just use painter's tape in the bottom to cover the electronics, and then stuff some earplug foam inside the crack. And these are what it looks like when I backfill with packing tape, and then either tissue or cotton. I'm using tissue, just something for the painter's tape to stick to. Now for my rollover buttons here, I originally was going to do something, but I thought, well, I'm replacing these with clear so that I can make these blue light LEDs. So I don't want these, and they're all banged up and chipped up anyway. So what I did is I just back taped them with some packing tape. And once they were back taped, then I just stuffed these back in after taking out the buttons. And I can just clear coat over top of this and do all my work. And then when it comes time to be done, I'll just trace around that with a sharp knife and then pop them out from the back again and put new ones in. That'd be the best way to keep that nice and clean so that new inserts can go in. There we go, through the magic of editing, we've just jumped forward about, I don't know, 3-4 months. I did take it to an Automotive clear coat, so let's play some music and zoom in on how that looks. And yes, this clear coat looks just as nice as it does on camera, with one caveat, which I'll get to in just a minute. I did build a box for this. I used a salvaged pallet, forklift pallet, to build the sides, and then some salvaged plywood on the bottom, and I made this box and sealed any holes and taped the inside edges, and then screwed it down with the original holes that were for the putting on the rails. I screwed it down to the box, so nothing can get inside the box because all the electronics is still inside this box. And I didn't want to get any clear coat or anything else from the automotive shop inside the electronics. That worked really well, but most people that basically refurbish a playfield and then clear coat it, they'll take all the electronics off the back. So they literally just have a board, an empty board with the artwork on it. And after all the work of plugging all these holes and the work necessary to kind of get into them, I think it would have been smarter to just take all the electronics off and just, you know, the wires you could have left, but all the electronic stuff that could get damaged by clear coat or dirt could have been removed, and even in fact even the wiring. But then you would have to make sure you systematically knew exactly how this thing goes back together again, and the wiring would have to, and I left the wiring harnesses and everything inside here, so it's going to be just a matter of taking these sides off and plugging it back in. Maybe that is easier. I don't know. Call me crazy, whichever way. It's working for me. This will be the only one I'll ever do. So I did it this way. Now, though the automotive clear coat worked, they clear coated it, and then they buffed it, and then they sanded it, and then they clear coated it a second time, and that cost me, I think it was $100, $125 or something like that, which was cheaper than it would be for me to buy the material, and then on top of that, figure out how to do it correctly without screwing it up. That said, what they didn't do is they didn't like make this playfield as level as you could. And then once you clear coat it a second time, you want to really wet sand it smooth. I mean, just mirror smooth. And then clean it good, tack it good, and then clear coat it again. And then wet sand it again, nice and smooth. And then fill it, any low spots get filled with a little drop of clear coat. And then you spray the whole thing, and then you sand it again. And that is essentially something you just repeat like 3 times, and you'll get a mirror finish. And because there's no mirror finish, you have waviness, and it's really not noticeable from a player perspective, but if you get the right angle, you don't see that mirror reflection, you see that non-mirror reflection. So let's show what that looks like. So what I'm having you look at is the reflection of a fluorescent bulb. And notice how the fluorescent bulb looks kind of wavy. That reflection waves as you go across the field. If this had been perfectly level and wet sanded between clear coats multiple times, then that would you basically be able to see that image of that light bulb in that field perfectly. And you wouldn't have these little humps that you can see around these. They're almost like tiny little divots, but they're almost not noticeable. It would not affect the play any more than it ever did from the factory, but I would like to have had this perfectly smooth. Now, one thing I could do is I could go ahead and wet sand it and go ahead and get automotive clear coat and mix it myself and do that whole process, and I might do that, or I might go on to just assembling and get onto the paint job of the actual machine itself, because I still have to do that. So let me know if you think I should go ahead and give this a shot of my own couple of clear coats and some wet sanding. I've got everything except for the clear coat to do that job. Thanks for joining, and let me know where you think I should go. I'm willing to do either one. I'm on to a lot of other projects right now, so there's no rush. But yeah, I think I'd like to give a shot at giving this like a mirror finish surface. And then video how to do that as well. Because then you could do that from the beginning. You don't have to send it out to an automotive shop like I did and find out that they don't really do that much work. They do a good job, and it's going to last forever the way it is. But we're talking about perfection here, and I do things to perfection. Thanks for joining, and thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. Bye.